This video is brought to you by Law Excellence IAS Academy.
Dear students, good morning. Welcome to DEEP, Daily Editorial Enrichment Program of LAICS R&D. Let us start the discussion on today's newspaper, that is 6th August 2019. The first article for discussion today is A Wrong Way to End. Today almost all the articles, they talk about Article 370 of the Constitution and its repeal, Article 35A of the Constitution and its repeal, and also the constitutional rearrangement with regard to Jammu and Kashmir is concerned. So let us see a brief history of this. When Raja Hari Singh signed the instrument of accession, the first thing is the center's power over the Kashmir was supposed to extend to three subjects. What were the three subjects? They are external affairs, communications, defense. Other than these three subjects, what is the relationship between the center and the states? This has to be decided by the Constitution Assembly, which will be constituted for specifically this purpose. This is what we call it as Jammu and Kashmir Constituent Assembly. By the time this Constitution Assembly comes into existence, the President of India can give something called presidential orders. These presidential orders shall be in concurrence with the government of Jammu and Kashmir. Now, once this Constitution Assembly comes into picture, the Article 370, which is a temporary provision which provides for this arrangement of presidential orders, will be ceased to operate on the recommendation of Constitution Assembly. See again. So Article 370 was made as a temporary provision to bring in relations between the Jammu and Kashmir state and the Union. And further to that, once the Constitution Assembly has defined this relationship, then it has to be repealed. How it has to be repealed? With the recommendation of the Constitution Assembly, and to that effect, President has to give an order, presidential order. And after that, on any subjects, if Parliament passes a law, then it is assumed today that it can be extended Jammu and Kashmir with the presidential order in concurrence with the government of Jammu and Kashmir. How it is assumed? As there is no Constitution Assembly of Jammu and Kashmir, obviously the previous provision which was there, the concurrence of the government of Jammu and Kashmir will come into picture. So that means if Parliament passes any law, President by his order, in concurrence with the government of Jammu and Kashmir, can apply that to the state. This is the existing situation. In this context, the presidential order also has led to an article called 35A. This 35A recognizes certain permanent residents and also provides the special privileges to these permanent residents. And then, over a period of time, most of the parliamentary laws are being extended to the Jammu and Kashmir through the presidential orders. Hundreds of presidential orders are being issued. And Supreme Court also has stated that constituting the government of Jammu and Kashmir and its concurrence extension of presidential orders is in constitutional spirit. Now, but repeal of the Article 370, what it is saying, there has to be a Constitution Assembly and it has to recommend for the repeal. And the second thing is, over a period of time, there is concurrence with the government of Jammu and Kashmir. Initially, it was taken as concurrence with the elected government of Jammu and Kashmir. Later, it was stated as governor's rule when it is there. Concurrence with the governor is sufficient. When president's rule is there, then also concurrence with the governor of the state will be concluded as the concurrence with the government of Jammu and Kashmir. It means today, if any law has to be extended to the Jammu and Kashmir, concurrence with the government is necessary. This concurrence with the government, it means that it can be either with the elected government, if it is not there, when governor's rule is there, either with the governor, or when president's rule is there, on the recommendation of the governor, the president can be constructed as this thing. And the third thing is how 370 is repealed now. Remember, the Constitution Assembly, as it is not existing, it is constructed as the Legislative Assembly. For this purpose, Article 367 in this Constitution Assembly has to be read as Legislative Assembly. And then, as Legislative Assembly is dissolved, who is performing the functions of it under President's rule? It is the Parliament which is performing the functions under the President rule. It means the Parliament approval shall be considered as the Legislative Assembly approval, and Legislative Assembly approval is considered as the Constitution Assembly approval. And by taking the parliamentary approval, Article 370 was repealed, and by reading Article 3, the Jammu and Kashmir state was reorganized into union territories, that is Jammu and Kashmir with legislature, and then we have this Ladakh region without legislature. So this is how they have carried out this repeal of the Article 370. It means the president's order is being put into operation through the approval of the Jammu and Kashmir Assembly, which was stated as a continuation of the Constitution Assembly of the Jammu and Kashmir. And as Jammu and Kashmir Assembly itself is not there, it is dissolved. As Parliament is performing its functions, approval of the Parliament is taken. So finally, it means no say, no voice of the Jammu and Kashmir is taken into consideration while repeal of the Article 370. Now, history has to tell us this decision is right or wrong. One way, the Kashmir is always an intricate issue. Remember, historically, at that juncture in 1947, 48, 49, in this juncture, Kashmiris were in kind of doldrums. Shall they be independent? Shall be with India or shall be with Pakistan? In this context, there are three issues over here. Kashmiris chose secular India over the Islamic Pakistan. That is the first issue. Second thing is they believed in the magnanimity of Nehru. And third thing, Jammu and Kashmir, it has three different regions. Now, if you consider this Gilgit-Baltistan also, it has four different regions. In this Ladakh region talks about it is being neglected by the Jammu and Kashmir state government. And Jammu people say that the voice of the Kashmiris is mattering more for the governments at the Delhi rather than the voice of Jammu. And these three regions also religiously divided. Jammu region dominated by Hindus, and then Kashmir dominated by Muslims, and Ladakh region dominated by Buddhists. So religiously diverse, linguistically diverse, and also strategically located, and above all, the voice of weak and marginalized, especially these Bakrawalas, tribal population indigenously living there, their voice is not been counted till date. So today, as Indian constitution is being extended to these areas, government says that we can take social justice, economic development, all these forward in the Kashmir Valley. It means the future of the Kashmir can be better understood what the promises of the union to them are, how can they be delivered. Or is center is trying to use this as a political vote bank related issue, or more seeing it as long term issue related to integrity of India, we need to understand. In this context, what might have pushed government of India to make this decision? And let's make a critical analysis of this decision. In the previous article, we have discussed how this Article 370 was repealed by the Parliament. How come Parliament was able to do that? That's what is the question. We have answered it today. Now, let's make analysis. Can we equate Constitution Assembly of Jammu and Kashmir as Legislative Assembly, whose functions can be performed by Parliament? On the passage of the Parliament, can presidential order be issued? This process, is it constitutionally right? What is Constitution Assembly? It's a body of represent who are the embodiment of the constituent power. How this constituent power has come into existence? through the democratic consent. The people have given the consent to a constituent power, and this constituent power together forms something called as Constitution Assembly. So, a democratic legitimacy is necessary, consent is necessary for the Constitution Assembly. So, the fundamental law of the land is written by this Constitution Assembly. Can we equate that with Legislative Assembly? Probably not. And the second is, can when a legislative assembly's function was taken by the parliament, and then through presidential order, if a new state is created or the state is divided into union territories, don't you see that? Can this happen with any other state in India? Tomorrow I will impose the president's rule, and obviously powers will shift to the parliament. And with the approval of the parliament, I construct it as the approval of the legislative assembly. And if I have the brute majority in the parliament, I can divide any state, convert that into union territory. So, the basic idea of India as union of states, is it going to withstand if the government is going for this adventurism? So, is that not going to threaten very idea of India, which is centered around diversity, which is union of India? And the second is, India is considered as union of states. The second part is Article 371 also has certain special provisions to Nagaland, Assam, Mizoram, Manipur. So this Article 371 will also be repealed in the future, the special provisions. And third thing is, the entire process is taken forward under brute force. The consultation with the people of Kashmir, consultation with the opposition are not taken at any stage of this particular process. So, democracy, if it is about consultation, and when the government is impatient towards consultation, and anyone opposing a particular decision, if they are called as anti nationals, can this democracy survive? So, it means the next perspective. So, Article 370 repeal, can it really provide for economic development and progress to the Kashmiris? Now, do Kashmiris want economic development at the cost of identity, loss of identity? Or repeal of the Article 35A, which has provided for the identity in the name of permanent residents? Will it be after its dilution? Don't you expect a demographic change in the Kashmir? The demographic change is going to provide for any kind of further disturbance in that particular state. So these are the issues which are still unanswered. So there are complaints about the procedure, and promises are being made to the Kashmir in the name of justice and development. Are we able to take this forward or not? Can the same way how the constitutional procedure is misused, can't it be misused with the interpretation of Article 3 and Article 356 of the Constitution to break the states into union territories or to break the states into parts? Then Indian Federation, will it survive in the long run? The very idea of India based on diversity, is that not going to be under threat? These are the questions we need to ask. Next is with regard to Afghanistan. Remember, in Afghanistan, now America is pushing for talks. In 2020, in USA elections were there. By that point of time, Mr. Trump has to ensure withdrawal of the troops to gain the confidence of the people back home. So, in this context, there are Doha talks are going on. Khalil Azad is appointed as an interlocutor. So, Pakistan, the Trump is again dependent on Pakistan and Pakistan army to mediate. The four things what they are talking about. One is cessation of hostility, and the second is intra-Afghan peace dialogue, and the third is no attacks by the Taliban on American interests, and fourth thing is about withdrawal of US troops. So, what Mr. Taliban is talking about, this withdrawal of US troops, that is what they are insisting on. So, cessation of hostilities, ceasefire, they are not agreeing, and they are taking up the attacks day in and day out. Intra Afghan dialogue process, they do not want to recognize the government of the day. And the no attacks on American interests, they tacitly agreeing to this. So, without this, now what the plan of the Taliban? So, without recognizing the existing government and its legitimacy, what they want to do after the talks are over, they want to bring in an interim government. So, it means Taliban wants to get into power through backdoor. So, in this context, what will be the status of the Afghan army? Think carefully. This Afghan army, which is functioning on the Afghan government, with under the fold of Afghan government, is fighting the Taliban now. If tomorrow Taliban forms the interim government, two issues comes up. Morale of the Afghan army will go down, and the second, interim government and the existing government, there will be a turf war between these two. So, internationally, if we see, unstable Afghanistan was always damaging to the India's interests. Once US troop withdrawal happens and financial support of the US decreases to Afghan, again it will be going into the hands of the conservative forces. Today Afghanistan consisting of very young population. So if it goes back into the hands of the Taliban and the terrorism gets resurfaced, then it is damaging for India's interests and also neighborhood interests. So another problem is there are too many tribal groups in Afghanistan now. So when this tribal group starts gaining or talking about independence, it may lead to fragmentation of Afghanistan itself. So one is resurgence of the Taliban, second is fragmentation, third is the state structure where armed forces has to be central to retain it. The state structure is expected to lose its significance. That's why we can say there is an uncertainty over Afghanistan which India need to worry more and more about. And then these Afghan Islamists are also talking about Kashmir. They want to bring in Islamic power in Kashmir. So, in the existing uncertainty in Kashmir and the rise of Islamic forces in Afghanistan, they may not be in the good interests of our nation. Piecing together Kashmir's audacious roadmap. What this article essentially tries to say is there are certain elites developed under the cover of Article 370. So these elites who stay on the Gupkar road, these have determined the future of Kashmir. It has led to certain vested interests. It also has promoted the corrupt form of government. So repeal of the Article 370, it has to bring in new power elite. So the Kashmir shall develop new power elite. And to dismantle the existing power elite and to develop the new power elite, the route which the Kashmiri government is taking, sorry, Indian government is taking towards Kashmir is empowerment of the local governments. More resources are being given, and if local governments are empowered, a new leadership can develop. This new leadership can create new power elite in Kashmir. And Chidambaram, idea of India is in danger. I already have discussed this. India is union of states. Now, in this innovative use of Article 356 and Article 3, it can lead to creation of new states without consultation with the legislative assembly of the states. This innovative use is a fraud on the constitution and the idea of India. Code red for labor. So let me put it this way. Why the labor laws have come into existence in the first place? Whenever there is an employer and employee, the bargaining power of employee vis-a-vis employer is always less. So in this context, employee is weakly positioned. That can lead to exploitation of the employee by the employer, and this exploitation has to be addressed. To address this exploitation, the state has to provide certain protective measures to the employee. These have come into form of certain laws, legal framework. So, 8 hours of minimum work, minimum wages, and safety conditions at workplace, all these are provided through a set of laws. So, in this case, if investors have to come, they shall be able to hire and fire the employees, and then they shall have flexibility with regard to getting the work done from them and paying them. So, here the government wants to increase the investment environment and replace the existing 44 labor laws with the 4 labor code. And this 4 labor code is meant to decrease the protections which are being offered to the workforce. For example, employer employee definition is not clearly defined. The minimum wage, it has been stated as around 178 rupees per day, which is called as starvation wage. And the next is, if a contractual labor is there and original employer, contractor, and contractual labor. So if they are working in my factory coming through a contractor, if any violation of the law with regard to this labor has happened, the responsibility will be on the contractor, not on the original employer. So in that case, the responsibility of the original employer is done away with under this code. And the next is, the inspector Raj or labor officers, they have to more work in favor of the employer rather than employee. Registration of unions, calling for a strike, all legal redressal for the workers, everything is being made as complex in the labor codes. So that's why it is code red for the labor. That's how it has been argued. And finally, very much have a great day. All the best.